Hello, I'm Bob the Bookerer and welcome to my channel. And with today, at the time of this video going out, it being Valentine's Day, I thought why not talk about a little book that I read recently that is all about love, and that is One Last Song by Nathan Evans. And I've spoken about it briefly in my weekly reads, and I have an interview with Nathan that's coming out next week. And this is a book that I really greatly loved. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about it. I mean, also it's worth saying from the beginning here as well, Valentine's Day, not everybody's thing. I still have mixed feelings about it, which I realise sounds like such a single person thing to do, of being like, no, well, I'm so above it. And then as soon as, you know, sort of dating someone, I'm like, oh my God, Valentine's Day is just like the best thing ever. But I think either way, you know, however you celebrate or don't celebrate it, I just like this as an excuse to talk about this book. So let's chat here about One Last Song by Nathan Evans. So it is published by Incandescent, of which Nathan is one of the kind of the people behind Incandescent as well. In this book, One Last Song, we focus on two characters primarily, Jim and Joan, who are two men in a sort of nursing home being looked after. So they're both sort of towards the ends of their lives in many ways, and they've been sort of put in this nursing home as a sort of last resort for different reasons. Partly for Jim, that his family don't feel able to take care of him, he has sort of complex needs. And for Joan, this sort of fabulous character, Joan doesn't really have anybody left who could look after him. Joan is a character who, you know, has spent his sort of life on the sort of battle lines of, you know, the front lines of queer liberation, and sort of has got to this stage of now sort of thinking, well, who am I and what do I do next? You know, how do I, you know, what does retirement look like to somebody who's been sort of battling all their life? And so these two men meet in the nursing home and form a sort of unlikely friendship at first, which then blossoms into something more. And I just thought this was such a beautiful book in so many ways. And my conversation with Nathan, we go into this a bit more. But Joan and Jim sort of represent very sort of different sides of kind of how queer people often try to get through life, and particularly try to get through a society that is not always particularly friendly towards them. And what that looks like in this case is, you know, Joan is this sort of flamboyant character who is almost sort of impenetrable through that, you know, has sort of seen and faced everything and nothing shocks him anymore. But he's also somebody who many people initially just dislike because of this sort of flamboyance. Jim has sort of gone under the radar for most of his life and has spent his time hiding and trying to not be detected. And so the two men together sort of at first don't really understand each other, because they've both done what the other one never thought that they could do in terms of how they made it through. But I think what then blossoms from the two characters and from the sort of cast of supporting characters is really this absolutely stunning and beautiful relationship between these two men. Without spoiling anything, I just think it's so lovingly told. It's told through a lot of humour and silliness, but also these beautiful moments of tenderness and softness. And it really emotionally hit me. I think it's an incredibly gripping book, an incredibly vital and important one, particularly as, you know, a lot of romance books or books that focus on sort of relationships in a big way, not sort of romance necessarily in terms of the genre, but books that feature romance in a big way, don't often focus on characters who look like Jim and Joan, you know, two men in their sort of late 70s, early 80s in a nursing home. And so I think this is just so beautifully done, and is just a great excuse to read something nice and beautiful this Valentine's Day, or in the preceding weeks or whatever afterwards. Anyway, I'll leave you with this little book. I've been Bob the Bookerer. Please do check this book out if it sounds interesting to you. Take care and speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.